Okay, so our topic is, according to what I think, the most important issue that the Jewish nation facing in this generation. Actually, it's an old, unfortunately, an old problem, but from day to day it's become worse. And this is the crisis of the Jewish identity, and the fact that we're losing every day Jews who just do not know what they're leaving behind, and the assimilation is a fact. The numbers are terrible, and I'm talking as a Jew. As a Jew, for me to lose people, for me, from my point of view, it doesn't matter at all if it's by gas chambers, as the Nazi Mimach Shmam did, or in different ways. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is that the Jewish people become smaller and smaller and smaller. The thing that I think we should do or could do is to explain people who leave Judaism from their willing, from their want, without anyone to force them to do it. They just do not know enough what Judaism is all about. They are not bad people. They just do not know. It doesn't change the result. The result are the same. So what we could do or should do is to go and explain. And it's so ironic and so funny and so not normal. I don't know any nation in the world, any Frenchman who go all over the world to convince French people that to be French is important, to be English is important. But I find myself, and that's what I'm doing in the last 30 years, all over, going around and telling people and showing people what precious thing and what Judaism is all about. And I find myself in a war in many places, that Jews fighting me on their Judaism. I'm not selling, a product of any company. I'm just want everyone to know what Judaism is all about. And I think this is the main problem. People have no clue what Judaism is. And from their point of view, what they want about, how they look at it, there is a justification to their decision, because it doesn't seem any important or attractive or why to stay there. So I want, in short introduction, just to put in a few minutes the principle of Judaism, and then we'll open it to discussion, because everyone comes from a different place, everyone has other questions that they want to discuss, and as Moshe says before, we want to open the discussion tonight for the questions that are relevant to you. Okay. The first thing, in my approach, is we have to know that Judaism is not just a set of ceremonies. That way many people understand Judaism. A bar mitzvah, a bris, and other things, all ceremonies. You have to go to pray here and there in Yom Kippur and Pesach. That's not the main thing in Judaism. Main thing in Judaism is actually a philosophy, a way to look at the world. And this part of Judaism, unfortunately, is hidden from many Jews. Those who are religious and keep mitzvot, and those for sure who are a little bit more far. So let me just, in the beginning, explain what Judaism is all about. The first Jew in the world, in the history, was not Jewish. His name was Avraham Avinu. Abraham, right? He was born to a Gentile family, no Jews at the time. And the interesting thing that Maimonides, Rambam, when he gave a review, he started and he said something, of course he didn't make it up, he just summarized it, that Avraham Avinu never has a teacher who taught him. He, by himself, looking around, hearing what his parents has to offer him, and the society, the philosopher of his generation, and by thinking about all the ideas that was popular at the time, he decided that it doesn't make any sense. And he has the guts, he was so brave, intellectually brave, to stand and say to everyone, you are wrong. You all wrong. You never heard about such a thing called peer pressure. He has a great personality. And the Gemara says about the Pasuk, Avraham ha'ivri. So literally, Avraham ha'ivri is Avraham the Hebrew. So, but the Gemara says, Avraham ha'ivri, that he is standing from one side and the entire world are in the other side. So what Avraham Avinu, what did he do? What doesn't make sense? In brief, without going to all the details and the philosophies and the ideas that was popular at the time, but in brief, they realized, in a way, they were much more smarter than us, than many people today who consider themselves rational and logic. They knew that this physical world that we are in is not a thing by itself. It's connected to other forces, non-physical, that actually operated everything that's happening in the physical dimension of the world. So they talked about, in the wrong philosophies that was popular at the time of Avraham Avinu, they talked about various of spiritual sources that in charge of things that happening in this world. The principle of the concept is not wrong. The wrong thing was that they're talking about many spiritual forces. And actually about this, Avraham Avinu were thinking, learning, studying all these philosophies, and he come to one conclusion, that it doesn't make any sense, could not be that the source of everything is more than one. And he comes to the world with monotheism. There is one source, one power that runs the entire show. That's how it started. It was not easy, and let me just explain the psychological aspect of this philosophical ideas. You know, and there is an implication to things that are happening today. Did you ever heard the notion, everyone with his own truth? Right? It's very popular today too, right? You know what? Don't talk to me about truth, because there is no such a thing. This is your truth. This is my truth. Okay? And I'm tolerant enough to let you think different than me. I feel good about it. And it's good for me because you cannot, no one will tell me that I'm wrong. There's no wrong and right. And here in America of today, of course, this is the idea. Everything is right. You want to do this, do this. Feel happy? Good. I'm doing my thing, you do your thing. Now, let me explain to you what we think, what was behind this. It's really disturbing and uncomfortable for a person who wants to do whatever they want, that will be a truth, an objective truth. Therefore, I will fight for the right of everyone to believe in whatever they want, but I will be so fanatic not to even think or consider one absolute truth. Because as long as you let me do whatever I want, I don't care if you do whatever you want. When there's one truth, you're in problem. If there's only one truth, only one thing is right, and all of the rest are wrong. And because we want to do whatever we want to do, so be aware of this, it's not coming from objective philosophy, but it's come from subjective psychology. I want to see things the way I want to see them. Therefore, it's very good that כל אחד והאמת שלו, everyone with his own truth. And that was the philosophy of that generation. When you have more than one authority, you could do whatever you want and look for the authority that fit your shortcomings or your whatever you want to do. That was the fight, the intellectual fight between Avraham Avinu and the rest of the world. And of course, his idea was not popular then and now. And now. But this is Judaism. Judaism speaks about objective truth. Let me say it even stronger. Objective reality. There is a real reality and a fake reality. And everyone who do not know the real reality live in a movie. Their own movie. They just imagine things and they live their life. This is very disturbing. It's so not tolerant. It's so not, but this is it. This Judaism is. Okay. Avraham Avinu started this, and it's continued. It continued in Yitzchak and Yaakov. But because the topic over here is Jewish identity, in Hebrew, Jewish is Yehudit, Zehut Yehudit. Let me just go to a very interesting question, and the answer for it will lead us to what we want to talk about today. As we know, we have 3 forefathers. Not 4 forefathers, 3 forefathers, right? Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Now, all the Jews in the world are the descendants of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, because Yitzchak was the son of Yaakov, of Avraham. Yaakov was the son of Yitzchak. But after that, the next generation are the tribes. So the Gemara says, "En korim avot ela lishlosha." Only the 3 are avot because they are the fathers of the entire nation. In the Torah, if you go to the Torah, you will see that when the nation became a nation, when we went out of Mitzrayim, in the entire Torah, entire 5 books of Moses, it's written, or we called Bnei Yisrael, the sons of Israel, which is Yaakov Avinu. That's the other name of Yaakov, was Israel, right? Question is, since when, and what is the reason that we called Yehudim? Because Yehudim, the origin of Yehudim is one of the sons of Yaakov, Yehuda, right? But we find out that even today we have Kohanim and Levim. Everyone who is not Kohen or Levi, but he is Jewish, have no clue to what tribe we belong to. But the Kohanim and the Levim among us, they know that they are from Shevet Levi, they are from the tribe of Levi, right? And they also called Yehudim. So what's the reason of this? Where happened the switch between Yisrael, which is more accurate, to Yehudim? Because Yehudim is only Yehuda. Yehuda was one of the tribes. So let's learn something. Right now let's learn some Torah for a few minutes in order to get to this thing. Okay, here. At the end, again, I'm sorry that I don't have the presentation in English, but I'll translate everything that's relevant. At the end of Genesis, at the end of Sefer Bereshit, in chapter 49, at the end, the Torah describes over there the last day of Yaakov Avinu. He's about to pass away, so he gathered his children, his tribes. It was in Mitzrayim when he discovered that Yosef, his son, that he thought he died, passed away a long time ago. He discovered that he is in Egypt, and he is the deputy to the king, and he lived in Mitzrayim for 17 years, which was the best years in the life of Yaakov Avinu. At the end of the 17 years, the last day of his life, he called his children, and he wanted to just say goodbye. So he gave each one of them a blessing. He blessed Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, and each one of the children. When he gets to Yehuda, he told him the following: Yehuda, ata yoducha achecha. So the literal translation is, Yehuda, your brothers will thank you. What for? and the translation is always take away from the original. Okay? So let's see first the literal translation. יהודה אתה יודוך אחיך יודך בעורף אויביך, meaning when you go to a war, you will win your enemies, ישתחוו לך בני אביך, the sons of your father, meaning the rest of the tribes, will bow down to you. And here he put Yehuda as a king, the king of the rest. And we know that the first king, or actually the second king, Saul was the first one. David HaMelech came from the tribe of Yehuda. And then Hashem promised David that his children, son after son after son after son, until Mashiach at the end of days, will be from his family, Mashiach ben David. Okay? So here we find it by the Yaakov Avinu, when he blessed him in the beginning. אתה יודוך אחיך ישתחוו לך בני אביך. Now there is something very interesting. If we go a little bit back, when the mother of Yehuda, Leah, you know that Yaakov has Rachel and Leah, and Leah was the first one to give birth to the tribes. So after she gave birth to Reuven, Shimon, Levi, then she gave birth to Yehuda before her sister became pregnant. Okay? When she had Yehuda, she named him Yehuda with a reason. Look, we're going back to chapter 29. When Yehuda was born, ותהרוד, we're talking about Leah. ותהרוד ותלד בן ותאמר הפעם אודה את השם. על כן קרא את שמו יהודה ותעמוד מלדת. So, she gave him the name Yehuda, קראה שמו יהודה, but there is a reason for this. Why? Why she called him Yehuda? Because she has a special thank you to God that he gave it to her. Now we have to know, in Hebrew, name is something very serious. Real names are real. And real name is the definition of the one who got the name. There is sources according to the Kabbalah to explain this, that it's the essence of the person is given by the name. Now it's very important to understand the connection. What's the reason that Yehuda called Yehuda? Hapam odeh et Hashem. In Hebrew, thank you is todah. When I want to thank someone, in Hebrew I say todah, lehodot. But in Hebrew, todah or lehodot has another meaning. When I agree or admit something, as ani modeh badavar, I agree that, I admit that this is it. So there are two meanings of the word lehodot in Hebrew. Thank you, and to admit that it's this way. This is it. Okay? Now, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, one of the great scholars, the great Tanaim in the Mishnah, the Gemara in Masechet Brachot, quote him, אמר רבי יוחנן משום רבי שמעון בן יוחאי, מיום שברא הקדוש ברוך הוא את עולמו, לא היה אדם שהודה לקדוש ברוך הוא. Since Hashem created the world, no one say thank you to God. The first one was Leah. עד שבאתה לאה והודתו, שנאמר הפעם הודה את השם. This is the first time that any person, not Adam HaRishon, not Noach, not Avram, not Yitzchak, not Yaakov, Leah, was the one to thank Hashem first about the birth of this son Yehuda. Now, because the name is a definition of a person, we could find something very interesting about Yehuda. Yehuda he grew up, and the Torah tells us a story about Yehuda. He got married, and he had 3 sons. And when those 3 sons got older, he married them off. So he married the first son. His name was Er. And the wife of Er, her name was Tamar. After a short time, the firstborn Er of Yehuda passed away. So she became a widow. So he married her off to his younger brother. Her name was Onan. After a short time, he also passed away. So she found herself, very young lady, Tamar, widowed twice. So she was waiting for the little brother. His name was Shelah, but it was time because he was still young. And Yehuda told her, wait until he will grow up. He grew up, and she saw that he has no intention to marry her off to him. So she did a trick. I don't know, you know the story? Yeah. Everyone?
Some they don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So she did a trick, and she dressed up as someone else, and she caused a situation, she created a situation when Yehuda himself, without knowing, married her, or was with her. Right? It was a one time, and she disappeared. Okay? And then a few weeks, a few months after, Yehuda heard that his daughter-in-law, which is a widow and not supposed to be pregnant, she's pregnant. So that was very severe at the time. And he was the judge, and they brought her to him. And it was a death penalty at the time. But because she did it on purpose, she did a trick. She made sure, when they were together, that she could prove later on that he is the father. Now imagine the situation. He's a judge, very important, respected person. And his daughter-in-law come in front of him, and they have to judge her. And it should be a death penalty. Then she told him, you know what? Okay, let me just tell you something. You know who's the father? The person that these things belong to him. Now he has a great dilemma, a big dilemma. He could, as many other politicians, protect his name and don't say anything. Only he and she knows, and he will put her to death, and that's it. But in this case, the children, she has twins in her belly, will die with her. Yehuda was such a brave man, and because his name was Yehuda, Yehuda means to admit the truth, he came out and he said, you're right. And he got, it was so not pleasant, his situation that he was there. But because he is a person of truth, who admit on the truth, he said, yes, those children are my children. It's me. Okay, that's the story there. Later on, his father told him the following. Yehuda, ata yoducha achecha. So we translate it, right? Your brothers will thank you, or yishtachavu lecha bnei imecha, they will be under you. If you know, there are a translate of the Torah to Aramaic. The popular translation to Aramaic is onkelos. Onkelos usually translate the Torah word to word, literally. The word in Hebrew, the word in Aramaic. But there is another Targum, which is more rare, and it's deeper, broader, and bring the aspect of the deeper level of the Torah. Every pasuk in the Torah have 4 levels: Pshat, Remez, Drash, and Sod, which is 4 layers, right? So Targum Yerushalmi bring always the 3rd deep level, which is Pshat, Remez, Drash, the Drash. Look what Talmud Yerushalmi said about translating this pasuk. Yehuda, ata yoducha achecha. So here the translation is word by word. Yehuda, lach yehodun kol achach. To you, all your brother will thank. Now, he said, ve'al shmach yitkerun kol Yehudai. And on your name will be called all the Jews. Who's saying this? Yaakov Avinu, Israel. So actually, in a way, he gave up his title because we are the children of Israel. He said, I'm sharing it with you. They will not be called only Bnei Israel, they will call Yehudim because of you. Okay? Ve'al shmach yitkerun kol Yehudai. Okay, the rest forget. It's not relevant now. Question is how he could do that. How could he do that? I mean, what? He loved Yehuda as a father. You want to give him a gift, but doesn't make any sense, this gift. Why to give him that all his other children will be called on the name of Yehuda. The solution for this is later on in the Tanakh. Let's jump about maybe 1,000 and something years in the history, almost 1,400 years. And we got to the time of between the destruction of the first temple, few years before they built the second temple in Yerushalayim. They were in exile, in Babylonian exile. And 2-3 years before they rebuilt the second temple was the story of Purim. About the story of Purim everyone heard, right? About Achashverosh and Haman, and the fact that Haman, which was Amalek, from Amalek wants to destroy the entire Jewish nation, right? So if you read the Megillah, Megillat Esther, you'll find out that the beginning, the Megillah described how wild and party guy was the king Achashverosh. He did a lot of parties. In one of the parties, he got drunk and completely became insane, and he killed his wife. Remember the story? He killed Vashti. So after he was sober again, for probably a few minutes only, he realized that he killed his wife. So they told him, what's your problem? You're a big king. Go find another nice girl many girls will be happy to be the queens. And he went for a journey of looking for a new queen. It took him 4 years. בשנת 3 למולכו he killed Vashti. בשנת 7 למולכו, in the 7 years, he found a lady. He knew nothing about her. He never knew that she's Jewish. Her name was Esther, and he married her. Then started the third chapter over there, that after Achashverosh, the king Achashverosh has a new queen, and he doesn't know that she's Jewish. He upgraded one of his ministers, his name was Memuchan. So he upgraded him to be the head of the government. And the new name of the Megillah called him is Haman, and he became the head of the cabinet. Okay? He has a personal conflict, it seems like, personal conflict with Mordechai, who was Jewish, and it happened to be that he is the uncle of Esther. And everyone bowed down to him. Mordechai didn't, and he refused to do it provocatively. And then he decided, wow, this guy is so chutzpan, I can't just kill him. I want to kill the entire nation. So Haman wants to kill the entire Jewish nation and got permission from the king, and this is the story of the Megillah, right? Now, look at how it's written in the Megillah. In the Megillah it says like this, in Megillat Esther, איש יהודי היה בשושן הבירה ושמו מרדכי בן יאיר בן שמעי בן קיש איש ימיני. So, איש יהודי, a Jewish man, was in Shushan Abira, and what is his name? Mordechai, and here he gave the family chain. Ben Yair, Ben Shim'i, Ben Kish, Ish Yemini. What's Ish Yemini? Ish Yemini, if you go up all the way, you will get to Binyamin. Binyamin was the youngest of the children of Yaakov Avinu. The young tribe is Binyamin, right? So it says at the end that Mordechai was the son of Binyamin. As the Gemara, if he came from Binyamin, how come you called him Ish Yehudi? And here the Gemara discusses it. The question that I raised in the beginning, right? How come all the Jews called Jews? Because Yehuda is only Yehuda. Look at the answer. So here's the Gemara in Masechet Megillah. Ish Yehudi היה בשושן הבירה. קרא ליהודי. In the beginning it's written that he is Yehudi. על מה מיהודה קראתי. So we learn that he is from the tribe of Yehuda. וקרא לימיני. על מה מבנימין קראתי. So how it goes together? Says the Gemara the following. Rabbi Yochanan אמר לעולם מבנימין קראתי. Actually he was a descendant of Binyamin. ועמי קרא ליהודי. Why he called him יהודי? על שום שכפר בעבודה זרה. Because he denied idol worshipping. שכל הכופר בעבודה זרה נקרא יהודי. And here's the definition. כל הכופר בעבודה זרה נקרא יהודי. Because what is Judaism is all about? And here we come back again to our topic, original one. Okay? What is Judaism? Judaism is to admit the truth, the only truth, the absolute truth, that there is one God who running the entire world, right? Mordechai called Yehudi because he refused to bow down to someone who put himself instead of God, which is Haman. So he is denying other source aside from God. That's what makes him a Jew. And that explains also the question that I raised before. Yaakov Avinu, we are the children of Yaakov. But even that, we never called Bnei Yaakov. We called Bnei Israel. So there is a story with Yaakov himself. When he was born, his name was Yaakov. But then later on, God changed his name from Yaakov to Israel. What is the meaning of the word Israel? Have you ever thought about this? What is the meaning? Actually, two words. Yisrael. El is God. El is koch, is a power. Power is El. Yesh le'el yadi la'asot lachem me'ura. Israel has different meaning. But the meaning that I want to relate to here is Israel is the rulership of God. Srarat ha'el. So Yaakov was a continuation of Yitzchak and Abraham, that their thing was that there is only one power who runs the show. And this is the name Yisrael. Israel is the rulership of God, right? Actually, when Yaakov gave to Yehuda the present, and he told them all the Jews will be on your name, actually he didn't change it. It's just two sides of the same coin. Israel is the positive. Israel is, we are the representative of God. Okay? Israel. What's Yehuda? Yehuda is to admit that this God is the only one, and we deny other forces. שכל הכופר בעבודה זרה נקרא יהודי. So actually it's the same thing. להודות שהשם הוא האלוקים זה לכפור בעבודה זרה. So this is it. And this is what Judaism is all about. People, as I said before, know Judaism by the ceremonies. No such a thing. There is huge difference between mitzvot and ceremonies. No ceremonies in Judaism. Mitzvot is so different because what is the meaning of the word mitzvah? Mitzvah in Hebrew, it's milashon tzavta. Tzavta is together. To be together. So mitzvah is to combine any physical acts, technical act, with spiritual meaning. Spiritual meaning that everything that God created for us in the physical world has a spiritual meaning. And that's what we're doing in what the entire mitzvot is this thing, is to take physical and give it spiritual meaning. In order to realize always that there is a spiritual meaning to the entire thing. This is Judaism. Now, Judaism is so deep in philosophy. I have to tell you, as a person who loves philosophy, general philosophy, בכלל, I read so many ideas in the general world, of philosophers, Jews and non-Jews, who give us, their ideas, what is the purpose. And I could tell you that if you learn the Jewish philosophers, and I mean the real one, those who are authentic, who are and we had great scholars, philosophers during the history of the Jewish nation. You cannot find any idea that you have in other philosophers, that you could not find it much deeper and much richer in Torah. Because we have to understand the following. Philosophers, how they know what they know? I mean, when you have a one that become famous because he has an amazing theory, how did he get to this theory? Thinking about it, right? So he with his mind, he checked out the history, checked out things that he learned before. He decided what to take from what he learned from his teachers and what to drop. And so based on what all the philosophers got to their ideas, based on their mind. What's the problem with the mind? the mind is, first of all, subjective and always developed. My knowledge, let's say I am updated completely to the last information that we have today in the entire world, right? And based on that, I will build an amazing philosophy. What's the problem will be with this? Two things. The knowledge of today is not the knowledge of yesterday, and therefore, it's not the knowledge of tomorrow. So, anything that you know today, by definition, if you look back, will change tomorrow. We will know more tomorrow. Therefore, it's worth nothing. Why? Because you could say, you know what, so far, until now, updated to today, I could say that this is the right way to behave, or this is the right thing, this is the right purpose of me. But you know that 5 years ago, even 5 minutes ago, you thought different. Therefore, in 5 years from now, we could discover something that will change from one side to the other side completely, everything. So human knowledge, developing, change. Therefore, you could not say, I have the truth. You do not have the truth. You have the truth for now. And it's very, very limited. More than that, my ability, my personal ability, the philosopher ability to think change from day to day. We find many philosophers that was famous because of theory that they got. They invent, or they become famous because of it. And they were teaching it for, let's say, 5-10 years. And later on in their life, they changed their point of view so radically and completely from one side to the other side. Therefore, you have to know that philosophy could not give you the real answer for what's right and what's wrong. There is no such a thing, because it's dynamic. The knowledge is dynamic, and the ability to think is dynamic. Here is the difference when we're talking about Judaism. The wisdom in the Jewish philosophy is not human knowledge. It's divine. And this is the amazing argument in the Tanakh. The Bible put two things as the basic of everything. Number one, the first verse in the Tanakh. What is it? Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. This is argument number one. Everything that you see over here is not here by chance. It was created on purpose because of God, the Creator, created it. Argument number one. Argument number two, that repeats itself in the entire Tanakh. All the prophets say the same thing. What do they say? An amazing thing. Vaydaber Hashem elai lemor. God talked to me. Now, it could be either right or wrong. I mean, either they're saying the truth, there is such an option also, or they're lying. They could lie either on purpose, or they are innocent. You know, they thought God to talk to them. It doesn't matter in the bottom line. But there is an option that people think about it much less. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's true that God, the creator of the universe, talked to them and give them knowledge or information about the world. And give them instructions, what's right and what's wrong. And if it's true, this is the absolute truth. It's not the idea of the prophet, of the rabbi. Because that will suffer from the same problem of the philosophers. The truth of today is not the truth of tomorrow and yesterday. But if God really talked to us, God knows exactly. He created the world. He knows what's right and what's wrong, and it's not changed from day to day, from generation to generation. It's not a matter of fashion. This is the amazing claim of Judaism. If you look at the Jewish history, and you will see, we are stubborn. We know that, right? Jews are stubborn, very. It's amazing why Hashem chose us. We are the most difficult people to deal with. Right? And God created so many nations. Why didn't he take the Philippines? They will listen, they go follow the rules, no problems. They will do what, just tell them they will do. I will just, okay. He chose the most stubborn nation in the world. It started actually from Avraham Avinu. You know, a person who stands in the entire world, in front of the entire world and say, you are wrong. This is not a simple character, right? And we inherit this from him. You know that. You know that Jews know better than anyone else, especially Israelis. They know everything. They'll say, so what if everyone says so? I know better. We inherited from Avraham Avinu, but we apply it to the wrong place. We operate it to... God chose us, and He knew what He's choosing, because we have a mission that it's a mission impossible unless we will have this character. You know, look at another phenomenon. The most horrible phenomenon that we as Jews, going hand to hand, since the beginning of the history, anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is so funny. I mean, funny. It's so weird. In a way, they, and I mean, let's say, Christian as general, or even Muslims, they agree that we are the chosen people. We, the Jews. In what way we are the chosen people? Because they believe, or they put all their ideas, the New Testament and the Quran, they both not just mention the Tanakh, the Bible, what they called the Old Testament and we called the Only Testament. They know that when their parents and grandparents, when their ancestors were idol worshippers, the only nation in the world that God talked to directly are the Jewish nation. They believe in Exodus. They believe in the revelation at Sinai. So in a way, they should appreciate that. Us. They should appreciate us. And they are, in a way, right? They're the chosen people. It didn't bother them to kill us so brutally in the last 2,000 years since Christianity became a religion. So this ambivalent relation of them to us is very funny, it's very weird. Why? You know what's deep down in the anti-Semitism? What's behind the scenes? We caused them the most amazing problem when we brought to the world the Ten Commandments. They believe in the Ten Commandments, right? Even the secular, take America. There's separation between religion and the state, right? But Ten Commandments. We caused them unbelievable problem. Why? Because the nature of the human being is, don't tell me what to do. I want to do whatever I am in a mood to. Therefore, any restrictions are not welcome. But in a way, you have to be amoral. You have to be a human being. You have to be moral. So we accepted ourselves things that we would be happy not to have them as restrictions, but we have to take them. So I always make parallel between Jews and Gentile in the terms of anti-Semitism to the best student in the class. The best student in the class is the favorite of the teachers, right? Who hates him? All his friends. You know why? Because he set a standard. And the teacher will say, if he could do it, you could do it too. Right? In the army, the best soldier, right? You get a very special reward, but who hates them? The other soldiers, because again, if he could do it, you could do it too. And that is the thing. We brought morality to the world. They agree. I'm talking about those who accept the Bible. The Christians, we're talking about 2 billion people. And the Muslims, right? We brought the Bible, but the Bible, in a way, is the set of morals that, you know what, you caused us a problem when you brought it to the world. So that is behind the scenes. Anyway, the bottom line of what do I want to say? Judaism is something so amazing and so big and so rich and so smart. It's not by chance that this book is the book of books, Sefer HaSfarim. It's not by chance that Jews has the Jewish cup, the Jewish head. Cup is in Yiddish. Okay? It's not by chance. And unfortunately, so many Jews do not know it. Even Jews who keep Torah and mitzvot, they do not know it. They relate to Judaism as a set of restrictions that the rabbi put on us, which is so wrong. It's a matter of knowledge, that's it. That's why I feel that my mission is to go all over, gather together Jews, and share with them a little bit of what's real. And believe me, unfortunately, you do not get this information in schools. Not in elementary school, not in high school, not in the university, not here and not in Israel. This caused and we're losing people because of this. You know, I know people, as an Israeli, I know people, it's, you know, I can't but cry every time I find such a person. I know people, you know, we in Israel, you know, you heard news. You know that we in Israel is for 70 years. Every few years there is a terrible war. We always in tension, terrorism. So I know people who are survivors. I mean, their parents are survivors of the Holocaust, of the Germans, יימח שמם וזכרם, who wants to kill and not leave any one Jew under the world, under the sky. And they are the survivors. I met more than one or two people like this. They told me, listen, I was born in Israel. My parents are Holocaust survivors. They are the only one who left from the entire family. The Nazi יימח שמם וזכרם murdered everyone. They came to Israel. I was born in Israel. I grew up in Israel, not religion. Israel is so important to me. I served in the army, not just 3 years, more. I went to the best units, the best of my friends died in the wars, in the operations that we did. And now I'm here in Los Angeles. You know how many of this kind of people you could find over here? I'm in Los Angeles, I'm in New York. So let me tell you one story with this. I'll finish my presentation and then if you want to talk about it. About 30 years ago, I know I'm not looking that old, but about 30 years ago, 25 years ago, a little bit more than that. I came for the first time to New York, and I'm doing what I'm doing, which is explanation of Jewish philosophy and giving lectures all over about different topics in Jewish philosophy. I gave a lecture in New York. I had over there about 80 people. Israelis in Hebrew, it was in Hebrew. So I talk about different things, and after the presentation was questions and answer, and the issue of assimilation raised up. And I said a few words about this. After we finished, one person came over to me. I never saw this person in my life, first time. He was about 48 years old. And he told me, listen, without probably knowing, you talked about me. And he told me, listen, I was in the Israeli army. I was a katzin, I was an officer. It's very important for me, the Jewish nation. I came here after the service in the army with my young wife, and we had a child over here. He was born over here. Of course, we have no connection to any religion in Israel and not here. He was in New York over there. He sent him to a public school. He gave him the regular education in public school that everyone is equal and everything. He was very, liberal. And he told me, listen, two weeks ago, I could not sleep at night in the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I got the most horrible information or things. What happened? My son, he's 22 years old, came over to me and said, Abba, I'm going to get married. I said, very nice. To who? I knew that he was very popular, he went with a lot of girls, but he decided to get married to Christina. She's not Jewish. And I'm not religious, I have to tell you. When he told me that, he thought that I'm going to be happy. Finally. I was crushed. I was devastated. Why? Because I knew what will be the implications. If you will marry her, her children will not be Jewish. And he told me, listen, my entire family was murdered by the Nazis because they were Jewish. My parents survived and I'm their only child. And now my only child going to be the last Jew in my family. He started crying, 48 years old, close to 50, he really cried. And he said, I could not sleep at night. When I tried to talk to him, he thought I'm crazy. Because we're not keeping anything. I sent him to a public schools. I told him that everyone is equal. And I don't know, but I know what he do not know, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He told me, this guy told me that his son told him, I went with a lot of girls. Many of them are Jewish. Believe me, this girl is smarter, prettier, richer, and my connection and feeling to her is great. Why not? Why not? And I could not know. I didn't know what to tell him. And I told him, listen, I'm going to tell you very hard things. Don't blame him. He's completely innocent. Why should he care? You didn't give them any information about why Judaism is so important. It's not important to you. He told me that the only thing that he's doing is trying to fast in Yom Kippur and try to eat matzah in Leila Seder only. So I told him, listen, your kid is smart. He knows that Judaism, including a lot of things, you choose whatever you want. You throw the rest to the garbage. Why he will not throw? I know, if you will be in his situation today, maybe you will decide to marry only a Jew and eat matzah in Leila Seder and fast in Yom Kippur, right? So if he understands the principle, if you could do whatever you want, throw out what you want, so he's throwing this out. What do you want from him? Now many Jews here come to America, many Israelis, and believe me, those Israelis really care about the Jewish nation. They put their life in risk. They fight in all these terrible wars. The best of their friends died in the battlefield. They care, but they have no problem to marry a Goya over here, to marry a non-Jew. And it's not because the non-Jews are not good. There could be great people. But we have to understand, the Jewish nation gonna be shrink. We're going to lose Jews. And I'm telling you, from my point of view, it doesn't matter whatsoever if this Jew got close because wicked murderer as the Nazis put him in the gas chamber, or because he, from his own will, paid the funny reform rabbi and the priest to marry him with non-Jew. It doesn't matter whatsoever. The result are the same result. And the thing is that they are so innocent. They are not bad people. They do not know. They never learn what Judaism is all about. You know how many Jews during the history was dying because they are Jewish and they refuse to change? When the murderers, the non-Jews, the murderers, told them, either you convert to Christianity or to Islam or I'm going to kill you. And it's not just kill you. Burning them alive in the middle of the city. And they refused. And the last words in their mouth before they passed away, they Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And they won. They told them, the murderers, you are stronger than me physically, but I'm stronger than you spiritually. You could kill my body, you could not kill my soul. All of these people were stupid. All these people died for nothing. They died for the truth. And unfortunately, the grandchildren do not know and do not appreciate what was important to them. And they're easily, okay, so I'm going, bye-bye. Again, we could not do anything more than to try to explain. Everyone has his own personality, his own free will. But I feel that my obligation is to tell this person, listen, before you leave, let me tell you what you're giving up. This is, in order for you to choose, you need to know what you're giving up. That's what we're trying to do. So that's why I thought it's very important to come and talk about this issue and just put it on, on the table, because it's important. It's important. Anyway, after everything, the free will is free will, and everyone will do whatever they want. But I think the major thing is information. People do not know enough what Judaism is all about, from a lot of reasons. Okay, that's what we have to do, and that's what we try to do. And from now on, if you have anything that you want to clarify or ask, your turn. Yeah.
So if we come out that the definition of a Yehudi is Shikolat Ofer Avodah Zarah Nika Yehudi, and we live in a world today where people are not really interested in thinking about what's the truth. It's more like, let me do whatever I like doing. And you come and you explain to them, well, you should know that if you're going to decide to marry someone who's not Jewish, you are cutting yourself off.
Uh-huh.
And to that you'll say, but I'm genetically connected, and that perhaps is enough for me, right? What can you give them that will make them feel that it's important to stay married to a Jew? They are not idol worshippers. They perhaps don't believe in Jesus. Let's say I do whatever I want. I marry her because I love her, and I don't believe in anything that they believe in. So what is it important to be called a Yehudi for?
Right. Okay, so let me tell you, because of what did you mention, let's add another thing. It's not true that today there are no Avodah Zarah. It's not true. There are idols today, and the most terrible thing that happened is this thing, and that's why we need hasbara, we need explanation. Since about 2,500 years ago, the destruction of the second temple, the Gemara says that when they rebuilt the destruction of the first temple, the Gemara says that 70 years after, when they rebuilt the second temple, the Anshe Knesset Agdola, which was the last generation of the prophets, Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, they said, okay, we were here in Israel. We didn't behave right. We broke the contract that we had with God. God sent us prophets and we didn't listen to them. Therefore, the first temple destructed and we went to exile. Now we're coming back. We're going to rebuild. But in order to rebuild, you have to prevent the cause that caused the destruction of the first one. So the Gemara says that they daven, they pray to Hashem that He will take away temptation to idol worship. That was one of the main reasons that the first Beit HaMikdash was. Okay? So the Gemara says that Hashem listened to them, and since then there is no such a thing called Yitzra de Avodah Zarah, a temptation to idol worship. Very interesting. At the same time, the channel called prophecy stopped. There is no nevuah anymore. Because there is a balance. When it was such a great thing, spiritual positive called nevuah, in order to have free will, it was the Avodah Zarah, just the opposite. So when they asked to get rid of the Avodah Zarah, because of that, the nevuah also stopped. But the Gemara says in Masechet Bava Batra, even though there is no prophecy anymore, nitla nevuah min haneviim, min hachachamim lo nitna. The Chachamim still has it. Ruach HaKodesh, it's not nevuah, it's Ruach HaKodesh. And here comes an amazing thing. The Greek philosophers lived at the time of Yirmiyahu Hanavi. There is stories, I'm not sure that it's so accurate, and there is for sure that Platon met Yirmiyahu Hanavi. It was a connection between them in Egypt, whatever. It could be true or not. Anyway, they live at the same generation. And it was an amazing thing that happened in the general culture. Before the Greek philosophers, the Greeks was also idol worshippers. All their gods, it was real gods. What happened when the philosopher came to the picture? They said, no, this is nonsense. There is no gods. But they took the gods and changed them to mythology, right? Become mythologia, right? It's an ideas, but it's not idol worship. At this generation started something that continues until today. And in the modern language, we call this humanism. You heard about humanism? Humanism. Humanism is the new Avodah Zarah. People decided why we should be under other spiritual powers. No more gods, I'm God. I'm God. Humanism is human. And it started in Greek, we're close to Hanukkah, we have to understand this. In Greek, they realized, all the Greek philosophers contribute to something that impacts the entire history, humanism. They realized two things. They realize that man has a great ability to think, logic, rational, philosophers, the intellect side of the human being, and the physical side of the human being, which is the sport, the beauty. All of this developed at the time. It goes from generation to generation until today. There is something that's called humanism. What's humanism? Human is the center. I'm God. And this is the new Avodah Zarah. The Gemara says in Masechet Shabbat that it's mentioned in Sefer Tehillim. It says in Sefer Tehillim, "Lo yeh becha el zar velo tishtachave el necha." Says the Gemara, what's lo yeh becha el zar? Ezehu el zar shehu begufo shel adam, which is the el, the power that's foreign. It's not right, but it's in you. Heve omer ze yetzer hara, which is the ego. So don't tell me that there is no Avodah Zarah today. The modern Avodah Zarah is the most dangerous one. It's me. And from that come humanism and liberalism. Do whatever you want. Only one condition. Don't harm anybody else. But if you're not harming anybody else, do whatever you want because you are God.
But there's no difference between Jews and non-Jews in that respect. 80% of the Jews...
Oh,
No,
that's
okay.
the problem.
And even the 20%...
That's exactly what we're
90%
talking about here. It's so popular that even Jews, most of them, vast majority of Jews, we're talking about maybe 1,400 Jews, a million Jews in the world today, only 2 million of them maybe are keeping Shabbat and keeping Kashrut and following the Torah. The rest are assimilated, and here's the point. Very good that you brought this thing. Assimilation not starting from marrying technically non-Jews. Assimilating starting from cultural assimilating, and that is the situation. Because of the technology, everyone could get anywhere today, and it has an impact for everyone. So the first step of getting out of Judaism is cultural assimilation. Not know anything about what real Torah is, real Judaism. It's irrelevant. Therefore, I feel so good. I don't care. I say, yes, you said, genetically I connected to the Jewish nation. No, I don't even care about this. Because who cares? It's a cosmopolitan world. Everyone, we do not need nations. We do not need dividers. Here, you're in California over here, of course. So liberal. Everyone is the same, small world. This is exactly the problem. When we deal with people who marry, when you marry, you are far after. In order to prevent marrying non-Jews, you have to make people convinced that the Jewish philosophy is relevant and it's important. So that's what we have to do. We could not force it. We have to know that we are in a disaster. The education system in America, I don't have to say, but even in Israel, they do not teach the children in Israel, they do not teach them what real Judaism is all about. In all schools, elementary, high school, university, they appreciate so much the general knowledge in the world. If they said it this way, if about maybe 300 years ago, every Jewish mother will be so happy if her child would be a Jewish scholar. Today, every mother, not every, but a lot of Jewish mothers will be happy if her son will be a doctor, will be a Prize Nobel. Judaism has no room anymore. This is the exile. This is the problem. And again, this is the situation, we have to face it. But it's everyone who care about Judaism, their responsibility to take our brothers and sisters, and we should relate to them as brothers and sisters. It should come from love. You know what? I don't want to lose you. You do not know what you're doing. I cannot decide for you. It's your decision. But you're never exposed to what Judaism is all about, really. Therefore, you have no real choice. This is a situation that I'm saying that's what we should do today. Anyone who knows what Judaism is all about and care about the Jewish nation and the mission, we have a mission in the world. We have to be the light to the nations. Real light. We have to spread out the real values, which is God values, not human values. And people so confused in this and do not know. They mix it up. This is on the stake now, and that's what we have to do. We have to just talk, talk nicely, try to explain. Listen, you want to leave. Before you do that, just learn what Judaism is. Go to yeshiva for 1 year. After that, you will have more tools to decide if you want it or not. But if you never did it, you're never exposed to the real thing. Yeah. You want to say something?
Yeah, no. How, if somebody's is ready to marry a non-Jewish, how can you?
In most cases, it's too late. In most cases, it's too late. And again, as I said to this person that I told you the story about, the children are not, you could not blame them. You could not blame them. You could not even blame the parents. The parents but the situation is that we have to explain. We have to show the beauty of Judaism. We have to show the wisdom. This way, people will want to come back and listen to this. But that's what we have to do. This is the mission of our generation.
Rabbi, so how can I explain to somebody, you can marry a Jew, non-Jews? Why?
You cannot. You know how many problems you will get yourself into? You will be called discriminated, racist, everything. And it's not true. From their point of view, it is, but it's not true. We are not racist. We have to understand when we said, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, that He chose us from all nations. It's not to be snobbish. It's responsibility. We are not looking from up down to the Gentiles. They are human beings, and they could be very good people, and they will be great if they will keep Sheva Mitzvot Bnei Noach. We do not have to convert them. We are not better than them. We have mission in the world. And we have to keep our people staying in the mission. Okay?
Start from the beginning.
Right, so to talk to someone when he is about to go marry non-Jew, you have to be so smart and so knowledgeable and so sensitive. Because you might say things that he will explain or understand them wrong. You have to understand again. You have to appreciate the fact that you are in this special nation who has a mission in the world to spread out the spiritual nation, the only true spiritual nation that God gave us. This is our mission.
That question. What about here, like something I learned here, that they want to marry a non-Jewish and they convert them. That's it.
Yeah, see, the conversion in America is really problematic. Because, first of all...
Argentina, I'm sorry. So
What?
It's a different word for me. I'm coming from Argentina, so for me it's new.
You have to know that non-Jew do not have to convert. They could be very good people if they will stay non-Jew and keep the 7 mitzvot of Noach. We have no interest to convert everyone. No. Now, when people are getting together, right? And some, again, those young people, they do not care. But the parents, so I have to make the parents happy. So I will do the conversion. You have to know I'm sorry, because the issue is here now, I will relate it. But you have to know, real conversion could not be because of marriage. If a girl, non-Jew, become converted to Judaism just because this Jewish guy that she met, the conversion is not a conversion. Even though you could find many rabbis over here that if you pay them enough, they will convert even dogs. No problem. They will convert everyone. No, just pay, that's it. But it's a joke. Anyone who convert not because the Judaism is true, and what will be the test? You'll ask this girl, you know, if this guy, the Jewish guy, will say to you, I'm not going to marry you, you still want it to be converted? If they will say yes, really, not what they say, if they really meant it, then the conversion is conversion. If not, it's a joke. It's a joke. So there is no point for all these conversions. They're worth nothing.
In Israel, sometimes it's even worse than here, so there's
Right.
not much difference. But, there are some good success stories. I have my own good story. I have a colleague at work that he came from a traditional background, but he was divorced. He met some women and she converted, I'm sure, because she met him. He has like 5 or 6 children with him. They're going to Torah Emet. He becomes Shomer Shabbat, everything. And so there are few
Yes.
successful.
You know what? Yeah, I know. I also know a few cases like this. But there is a very good joke about this. Let me tell you the joke. It's not a joke, unfortunately, probably it happened. The story is about a non-keeping mitzvah, non-religion Jew who he came here to America and told his children, you know what, we are not keeping everything. We are not religious, but one thing I want to ask you. He asked his son, never marry a shiksa. You know what shiksa is? A non-Jew. Never. That's it. That's the only thing that I asked him. So his son grew up and he went with this girl. Some of them were Jewish, some of them. Then he decided to get married to a non-Jew. So his father was very upset. He said, no problem, I'll convert it. It'll be okay. So he went to the entire process and he converted her, and she said, wow, when she started to learn Judaism, it makes sense to her. She started to love it. You know what especially was very nice for her? The fact that every Friday night, before we start the meal, the husband sings to the wife how great she is. Eshet Chayim Mimza. So she learned the entire words and she said, wow, Judaism, so appreciate wives. And then she became learning it more and more, and she loved Judaism. She loved Judaism to the point, they got married, she loved Judaism to the point that she started to learn and apply it. And they were non-keeping. I mean, her father-in-law, of course, instead, that now it reached a point that she was upset that her husband, the Jewish husband, do not do what's... It's so beautiful, it's so true. Shabbat is so beautiful. How come I keeping and you're not keeping? So, because he loved her, he started to become even more keeping and more learning, and he became really... So his father came to visit him after a few months, and he saw what happened. He saw that his son become a real Jewish with all his heart, and he's doing a lot of things, and this is, So he took him aside and he told him, I told you not to marry a shiksa. See the problem? So there are stories like this. There are stories like this. But when it's done just because they want to make the parents happy, come on, it's not. It's a joke. Okay. Any other questions? Different things or something that relates to this topic or not, whatever.
I don't have a question, but I want to make a statement.
Okay.
I do agree with you that the Jewish education is very important. But I think, and I wish there would be a lot of Jewish education. But it doesn't matter what we do, once we live amongst Gentiles, and it's happened all generations, we cannot help. There's going to be assimilation in any way. And it's happened all the generation before, except when we live in a ghetto, and we could keep ourselves together. But like when we live in an open world around, it's just about impossible to prevent it.
I agree with you to a certain point. I mean, but again, let's put it in a proportion. The right approach should be, Gentiles are not good. Many people translate it this way. It's wrong. Gentiles are good. Some of them. It's a human thing. You could be good. It's not only if you're Jewish you're good. There are many Jews that are not good. There are many Gentiles that are great, right? So it's not up to this if you're Jewish or not Jewish. There are many good people all over, right? The thing is that when you choose or not choose to be in exile, not among Jews, you have to know that part of your responsibilities of bringing kids to the world and raise them, to give them confidence. I mean, in a way, you have to make them even stronger in their idea. And it should be right that the non-Jews are human beings and should be respected. But we are different in the mission, in the responsibility. We're not better. We have more responsibility. We are the nation of God. And if the first of all, if the parents are real role models, because you could not preach to someone, especially to your kids who knows you very well, right? You cannot preach and say something that you yourself do not believe. First of all, you should be confident about what you have. Then, if you have a healthy relationship with your kids, healthy, I mean that healthy. So and you explain to them that we are special in a way that we have more responsibility. We are not better than anybody else. If so, it's the opposite. They have much less in order to be great. Only 7. We have 613. So it makes us need to be more responsible. And that way, you could give the message. In this generation, we find an education crisis all over. There is no connection whatsoever between parents and children among Jews and non-Jews. We do not know how to make our children be connected to us. But as Jews, we have to do it, and we did it for 2,000 years in exile. And of course, here and there were people who sleep off, but today it's catastrophic. Today we're talking about 58% in America of Jews who marry non-Jews. This is real disaster. And we have to do whatever we could do. And we could do it only with love, with explanation, and put things in the right proportion. That's what we have to do, and that's what we try to do.
If I'm allowed, I just want to, you're correct that even the Rabbi son theoretically can marry an Nazi. But the more Jewish education you give at home, statistically, you keep more Jews in.
Better chances, yes.
No, the chances of that, you can only work on chances. As I said, every one of us could have or still can become Mumma. There is no guarantee whatsoever.